everybody, it's Sauce. After posting my gear review video for the CDT in 2022, I had quite a few people reach out and ask how on earth I fit all of that in a 40-liter backpack, which is a fair question, but my backpack is actually 50-liter capacity, so that might clear up some confusion. However, I wanted to make this video to show you exactly how I pack my backpack for backpacking. I'm going to be sharing essentially what I do every morning at camp or before I leave for a trip, but when it comes to backpacking packing routines, everybody's a little bit different. However, I'm also going to share some overarching packing tips and tricks and common mistakes to avoid to make sure that your backpack carries well for your next hike. Quick side note, if you're enjoying my videos, please consider subscribing for more backpacking and through hiking content and to follow along with my adventures this summer. My first overarching tip is to think about what you're going to need to access throughout the day and let that inform the way that you pack your backpack. You don't want to have to pull everything out every time you need something. You also don't want to get caught in a rainstorm and realize you need to pull out your sleeping bag in order to get to your rain jacket. Second, you typically want to distribute the weight so that the heaviest things are toward the bottom or the middle of your pack. It helps prevent some of the stress on your shoulders if you don't have the heaviest things on top and like pulling you backwards. Third, the lighter you go, the more comfortable you're going to be in pretty much any situation, but you definitely want to make sure that your backpack weight does not exceed 20% of your body weight. Fourth, for me personally, I tend to avoid stuff sacks. While I do keep a few, as you'll see when I go through my routine, you really don't need stuff sacks for everything, and getting rid of them can help lighten your load quite a bit. It also helps your gear pack down smaller and avoid having weird, awkward, empty spaces within your pack. Finally, the more stuff that you have hanging off of your pack rather than inside of it or strapped down, the heavier your pack is going to feel. When you're walking with heavy things like shoes strapped on the back of your pack, that momentum will actually make it feel heavier and pull you backwards a little bit. So try to strap things down or on top or inside to make your backpack carry more comfortably. With that out of the way, let's get packing.
First up, we have my trusty Superior Wilderness Designs Long Haul 40. The first thing I always do is put a compactor bag inside as an extra layer of protection against rain. This backpack material is waterproof, but the pack isn't seam taped, so I like to have that extra insurance. Compactor bags are also cheap, light, durable, and effective. I consider them one of my backpacking essentials. Next, I usually put in my sleeping bag without a stuff sack. This allows me to shove it in all the nooks and crannies, so I utilize as much space as possible. You really have to shove it in there and compress it as much as possible. Adding the rest of your items will also help with this. If I really want to save space, I'll sometimes keep my base layers inside my sleeping bag as well. After my sleeping bag, I take my rolled up sleeping pad, first aid kit, and electronics bag and sort of Tetris them together so they fit efficiently. When I'm doing this, I continue to push down and compress my sleeping bag. Next up, still inside the compactor bag, is all the clothes I'm not wearing, usually my puffy and base layers. I like to have a clothes bag for my base layers so it can double as a pillow, and I'll stuff that in above my sleeping pad, first aid kit, and electronics. Then I take my puffy and stuff that in, filling in as many empty spaces as I can to efficiently use the space. Now, if my tent is wet from being out overnight, I'll roll up the compactor bag and put my tent on top. If my tent is dry, that also goes inside the compactor bag. I always keep my stakes rolled up inside my tent as well, and I don't have a stuff sack because it fell apart, but that gives me some flexibility with where I put the folds of the tent. Sometimes I stuff the tail of it toward the back side of my backpack to save even more room. If I didn't already roll the compactor bag shut, I do so now. Most of my camp things are packed at this point, and I shouldn't need to access them throughout the day. On top of my compactor bag, I will often put my rain pants. Since I don't use them as much, I'm okay with them going below my food bag, but I don't want to have to open the compactor bag if it is raining heavily. Then I put my food bag on top. I always take out my snacks for the first half of the day and my lunch and put them either in my fanny pack or in my mesh, so I hopefully don't have to get into my food bag until lunch. My stove either goes to the side of my food bag or in it, depending on how full it is. If I'm carrying a ground sheet, it gets shoved in behind or around my food bag. My rain jacket usually goes here too, either on top of my food bag, sort of hugging the outside of it, or in my mesh pocket if I can tell it might rain that day and I want easy access. Finally, my foam sleeping pad gets strapped on top for easy access and daytime naps. Then I try to cinch everything down to make it as compact as possible. Moving on to external pockets. I tend to take full advantage of my external mesh pocket, and it holds anything extra or that I might need to use during the day. That obviously includes food and sometimes my spork. Usually in the bottom of my mesh pocket, I keep a rope for hanging food and my bug head net. I also keep my camp shoes in there if I am carrying them. If I have micro spikes with me, those also go in their case and in the mesh. I want them to be easily accessible, so I'm more likely to put them on, but they have to be in a case, otherwise they grab the mesh really easily and that gets really annoying. I try to avoid hanging things from my pack, but I do attach my trowel and hand sanitizer to the outside loops and then tuck them in my mesh for easy access. I also have this handy external pocket where I usually just keep my headlamp and occasionally some extra Mio electrolytes. I don't really use my water bottle pockets for anything besides water bottles unless I have my umbrella, in which case that goes through the external straps to hold it in place and into the water bottle pocket. My shoulder strap pocket is designed for a small water bottle, but I almost never use it for that. I usually have my camera plastic cover in the bottom so I can quickly pull it out if it rains. Then I put my Garmin InReach on top of that and my little phone tripod on top of that. This kind of became a habit since I wanted to leave my Garmin out with a view of the sky to send my morning check-ins. Finally, my setup wouldn't be complete without my handy dandy thru pack. My fanny pack is large. It contains multitudes, as Walt Whitman might say. My glasses case is usually in there, so I can switch between my glasses and sunglasses easily. My wallet also goes in here, which is also from thru-pack, and usually it just has a credit card, my debit card, my ID, and some cash. I also keep Aquaphor in there and as many snacks as I can fit. My headphones are usually plugged into my phone, which goes into the designated back phone pocket. I've also been guilty of being lazy and stuffing trash in my fanny pack if I don't feel like getting my trash bag out of my mesh. Obviously, some of my things occasionally move around. Some days my sunscreen is in my fanny pack and extra snacks are in my water bottle pocket, but you get the gist. A quick note on if I'm carrying a bear can. With this particular pack and my particular bear can, it only fits vertically. So that goes in first and I stuff everything else around it in the same order as I described previously. When that's the case, I also try to take out an entire day's worth of food before I pack my backpack so I don't have to yard sale at lunch.
Thank you so much for watching, and please leave any other questions that you have for me in the comments. As a side note, I'm actually downsizing to a pack with 30 liters of capacity and 8 liters external this season. So if you're curious to see how I'm downsizing everything and fitting into an even smaller pack, go ahead and leave a comment and I can make a video about that as well. Thanks and happy packing.